the guidelines from the American Institute for Cancer Research, World Cancer Research Fund, who send this, are 10 guidelines for reducing the risk of cancer. Number 10 says, for cancer survivors, follow the 9 guidelines above. The number 1 guideline is to be as lean as possible without being underweight. The number 2 guideline is to be physically active for 30 minutes each day. And you have opportunities to do that here, which is quite wonderful. The number 3 guideline simply said, avoid sugary drinks. So I went to the microphone, I said, you know, there are sugary drinks and there are sugary drinks. You can drink Coca-Cola, God forbid, or Tropicana fruit punch, which is probably glucose and high fructose corn syrup, or you can squeeze 3 oranges in the morning. And the response from the podium was, energetically, they're all the same. Because if you eat an orange, the fiber slows down the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream. If you squeeze the sugar away from the fiber, it's like drinking Coca-Cola. So why is that bad? When the body sees that load of sugar, it squirts out insulin and insulin-like growth factor, both of which promote inflammation in the body. And insulin-like growth factor is a growth factor for cancer cells. So that's why we want to protect against those squirts of sugar. So does it mean I don't squeeze 3 oranges? I used to do it every day. I did it this morning. I do it about twice a week. And then once a week I'll have a carrot juice as well. This is a surrogate for red wine, which I think is probably a healthier drink for grape juice. But it's a good example because when I say sugar, if you look in the nutrition facts box here, it says 23 grams of sugar. I don't worry about sugar in the nutrition facts box. That sugar fuels our brain. Where I don't want to see sugar is in the ingredients list. And the ingredients here are 100% organic Concord grape juice. So when I say no sugar, look in the ingredients, not in the nutrition fact box. That's very important. Patients say, oh, I didn't know that. So a better beverage, I'm drinking 5 cups every day of green tea. Green tea. Second only to cruciferous vegetables in the cancer risk-reducing potency of its chemicals. So tea is the name of the beverage made from the Chinese camellia, or the Camellia sinensis. And it's graded on how oxidized the leaf is before the beverage is brewed. White, green, oolong, black, and pu'er. And the only 2 that have the cancer-fighting chemicals in them are white and green. So I drink 5 cups of green tea every morning. It has a little caffeine, much less than black tea, Coca-Cola, or coffee. People always say, well, what about coffee? Coffee's okay. It's probably good for the brain and the heart, but it doesn't have the cancer risk-reducing chemicals of green tea. Plus, a lot of people put sugar in coffee, right? And then they also put in another one of my no's, which is dairy. So what about dairy? There's no guideline that tells you not to eat dairy from the American Institute of Cancer Research. And part of it, I think, really, to be honest, is the strength of our got milk lobby in this country. So there's no other animal that drinks another species' milk. But no other animal drives a bus or goes to college either. So that's not a very good argument. But no animal drinks milk after they've been weaned. And by the age of 3 or 4, we actually lose the ability to digest the sugars and the proteins in dairy. We make a big deal about fat, low fat, no fat, 2%. It's not the fat. If you want a dairy product, butter is probably okay because it's mostly fat. We talk about lactose intolerance as if it's a disease or a disorder, when in fact it's the norm. And the ability to digest dairy is actually a genetic mutation on the 2nd chromosome found mainly in Scandinavians who needed to digest reindeer milk in times of freeze. Otherwise, the rest of the world's people, especially Asians, Africans, Jews, Mexicans, Southern Europeans, are all lactose intolerant. And you don't know until you stop. And what is dairy for? mothers feed their babies dairy so that they grow bigger. So as an adult, when you are using dairy, you grow bigger. And if you stop dairy without even thinking about it, you lose weight. So patients then always say, well, what about yogurt? Because yogurt, the sugars and the proteins have been altered by the bacteria, so they're more readily utilizable. But then again, most yogurt has artificial colors, artificial flavors, and added sugar. This is just pasteurized organic whole milk, live active cultures. That's it. So if you're going to eat a dairy product, yogurt or kefir that's just regular, and then you could add your blueberries or whatever else you want to add to it. You should season with ginger, garlic, onions, and turmeric. So garlic and onions are in the family called allium, and these are really incredible medicines. They lower blood pressure, they're antibiotics, and they also have very potent anti-cancer activity. Andrew Weil, my friend and teacher, says at the beginning of a cold, he eats 2 cloves of raw garlic. For my class, for my program in integrative medicine, that was one of our homework assignments, to eat 2 cloves of raw garlic. Whoa, I couldn't do it. Steamed, roasted, baked, sauteed, okay, but 2 cloves of, I guess if it doesn't kill you, it'll kill the virus. So now you know that the chemicals in the garlic actually need to be crushed. Garlic and onions need to be crushed before they really release their potent chemicals. So a lot of people dice their garlic and let it sit diced for 10 minutes or so before they actually use it, so that the chemical reaction that releases the most potent chemicals can occur. Similarly, there are people who say, oh, you should only eat raw broccoli because broccoli has an enzyme that's destroyed in cooking. Well, that's partially true. There is an enzyme, again, when you chew it or crush it, it sets in motion the pathway that really releases the most potent cancer risk-reducing chemicals. And if you cook it, it sort of slows down that enzyme. But cooking broccoli should be blanched or steamed or stir-fried, and not the way my mother used to make it in Cleveland, where it became this gray-brown something that I didn't know ever what it was. Turmeric. How many people have heard of turmeric? So turmeric is what gives Indian curries its yellow color. Does not impart much flavor or taste. It is mainly the color. The flavor and taste comes from cumin, coriander, fenugreek. But cumin, we've tried to figure out why in India, which is such a huge country, do they have so little cancer and dementia? And it turns out that turmeric, which is consumed quite abundantly because people eat curries many times during the day, seems to be a very potent anti-inflammatory and also have cancer risk-reducing ability. Now, I developed pretty bad arthritis from my yoga practice in my hand. And it was really red, hot, tender, and swollen, which means inflamed. And I don't like to take, even though I'm a cancer doctor, I don't really like medicines too much. So aspirin makes me bleed, and all those other non-steroidals gave me those splotches on my arm that old men get. So I asked my friend, the rheumatologist, what I should take, and he told me to take a particular brand of turmeric supplement that also has black pepper with it. Because turmeric, the first I ever heard about it was at our conventional cancer conference about 10 years ago. There's an animal model of colon cancer that's studied at Ohio State. And if they fed these mice that are programmed genetically to get colon cancer a diet enriched in turmeric, not only did they not develop colon cancer, but they survived longer than the control animals. And that's partly because turmeric doesn't get absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract, so it stays down there in the colon and the rectum to do its work. But if you want turmeric to get into your bloodstream, you either have to take a lot of it, or a capsule that's been, the curcumin, which is the active ingredient, has been processed so that it's more absorbable, or you need to take it with black pepper. And so I started taking this capsule that had the turmeric active ingredient curcumin in black pepper, and in 3 days, the swelling and heat and everything went away. I caution my patients who take a lot of prescription meds about the black pepper containing preparations, because black pepper increases the absorption of everything else as well. So for example, for my 86-year-old mother who was complaining about pains, I said, take a turmeric brand that doesn't have black pepper. And she did, and she told me that after 6 weeks, she got up one night to go to the bathroom and she realized she didn't have her pain anymore. So when you're treating yourself with these botanical food products, it's not immediate like an antibiotic or something, but over time, the benefits do prevail. Haven't really mentioned animal products much, except for dairy. What I recommend that people eat for animal products are deep cold water fish. And our example of that is some canned pink salmon that is just salmon. There is no other ingredients in this. Salmon, black cod, which is a great fish, otherwise known as sable fish, tuna, herring, mackerel, sardines. These are the fish that are richest in the omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s are PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids. We need more of those in our diet. The omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory and antidepressant. So generally, because people aren't going to eat deep cold water fish every day, I do recommend that they take an omega-3 supplement. Poultry needs to be organic. Chicken and eggs are the most inflammation-promoting foods out there because they're very high in something called arachidonic acid, which is the precursor to prostaglandins, the chemical mediators of inflammation. So if you're eating chicken and eggs, they need to be organic, and eggs need to be organic omega-3 eggs. People that eat 2 eggs for breakfast every day, that's so inflammation-promoting food. And there's a little link between egg consumption and prostate cancer. So personally, I only eat 1 egg a year at Passover when we dip it in salt water. Otherwise, they give me really terrible gas, so I don't eat eggs. The guideline number 5 says limit consumption of red meat, beef, pork, and lamb, and avoid processed meats, salami, bologna, bacon, ham, pepperoni, all of those things. Avoid is a pretty big word. So do I do that? I eat a little lamb because I think as far as red meats, lamb is much cleaner than pork and beef. So I eat lamb maybe once a week or twice a month. Another polyunsaturated fatty acid, by the way, is olive oil. Olive oil is probably your best substitute for butter for both cooking and also for bread, if you want to dip your bread in olive oil instead of putting butter on it if you don't want to use dairy products. Olive oil is an omega-9 fatty acid, so it's neutral. Omega-6 fatty acids promote inflammation. That's what chicken and cows and all the animals make from the stuff that we feed them that they're not meant to eat. And that's why meat is so bad for us, because it has the wrong fatty acids. In the old days, our diet had a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids of 2 to 1, and now it's 20 to 1 in the standard American diet because of what we feed animals. So again, organic poultry, olive oil. Olive oil is not so good at high heat. So high heat cooking, grapeseed, rice bran, peanut or sesame, if you like a little more Asian flavors. And then a lot of my patients are now using coconut oil. I haven't cooked with that yet because I'm afraid it would make everything taste too Polynesian. So not that I mind it, but not every time I eat, I don't need coconuts. But speaking of coconuts, the last thing in my bag, people say, well, you know, what do you do for fun? Or just if you want something a little junky. So, so I'm a big reader of ingredient lists. And patients bring me bars that the first ingredient is brown rice syrup, which is sugar. And then that ubiquitous soy protein isolate. And then crystalline fructose. And then fructose crystals. I say, that's all sugar. Excuse me. I like this bar. It has sugar in the nutrition facts box, 15 grams. But the ingredients are dates, organic almonds, organic unsweetened dark chocolate, organic coconut, organic virgin coconut oil, and sea salt. So 5 or 6 ingredients, all of them that you can picture on a shelf. You know, what does soy protein isolate look like on a shelf? Who knows, right? So if you can picture it on a shelf, and if you know what it is, that's a better food to eat. And you didn't hear any sugar or nickname for sugar. You heard dates. Dates, it's the whole food. You're getting the fiber attached to the sugar, so this is good. And this is what I eat when I need a little boost of energy. So I think food, you know, can be delicious and also still be healthy. The standard American diet is really what's led to this warning to be issued, and to the fact that 1/3 of cancer and 1/3 of disease, morbidity, and mortality in the United States today is related to what we eat and what we don't eat. So we need to eat more of the right stuff and less of the wrong stuff, and we need to keep physically active because it's an energy in, energy out issue here. And with that, hopefully, you know, we could all live long, happy, healthy lives. So with that, I'll thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions.